Welcome back, students. Today we will study about dimensions and dimensional analysis. The nature of a physical quantity is described by its dimensions. All the physical quantities represented by derived units can be expressed in terms of some combination of seven fundamental or base quantities. We shall call these base quantities as the seven dimensions of the physical world, which are denoted with square brackets. So, what is dimension? It is a physical property which describes a way any physical quantity is related to fundamental physical quantities. So, thus length has the dimension L, mass m, time t, electric current A, thermodynamic temperature denoted by theta or K, luminous intensity is denoted by CD, amount of substance is denoted by N or MOL, mole. The symbol for square bracket means dimension or stands for dimension. The dimensions of a physical quantity are the powers to which the base quantities are raised to represent that quantity. I repeat once again, the dimensions of a physical quantity are the powers or exponents to which the base quantities are raised to represent that quantity. Using the square brackets around a quantity means that we are dealing with the dimensions of the quantity. So, what is dimensional analysis? It is the analysis of the relationships between different physical quantities by identifying their fundamental dimensions such as length, mass, and time. In mechanics, all the physical quantities can be written in terms of the dimensions L, m, and t, that is for length, mass, and time. For example, the volume occupied by an object is expressed as the product of length, breadth, and height. Now, each one of them are dimensions of length. Hence, the dimension of volume are L into L into L, that is L cube. So, as the volume is independent of mass and time, it is said to possess 0 dimensions in mass, 0 dimension in time, and 3 dimensions in length. Similarly, we can write down force as the product of mass and acceleration. It can be expressed as force equals m into a, mass into acceleration. So, force can be written as mass into length by time square, and hence the dimensions of force become mlt to the power minus 2. mlt to the power minus 2. Thus, the force has one dimension in mass, one dimension in length, and minus 2 dimensions in time. The dimensions in all other base quantities are 0. Now, in all these type of representation, the magnitudes are not considered. It is the quality of the type of the physical quantity that enters. Thus, a change in velocity, initial velocity, average velocity, final velocity, and speed are all equivalent in this context, since all these quantities can be expressed as length by time. So, their dimensions are L t to the power minus 1. So, we are having four category of physical quantities: dimensional variables, dimensionless variables, dimensional constant, dimensionless constant. So, those physical quantities that have dimensions but do not have fixed value, example force, velocity, work, and power. Thus, one force may have a magnitude of 4 and the other have a magnitude of 10, but all have dimensions of mlt to the power minus 2. Just now I was telling you that in this type of representation the magnitudes are not considered. It is the quality of the type of the physical quantity that enters. Now those physical quantities which have neither dimensions nor fixed value are called dimensionless variables. For example, specific gravity, strain, angle, etc. What are dimensional constant? Those physical quantities which possess dimensions and have fixed value. Example, gravitational constant, Planck's constant, velocity of light. On the other hand, those quantities which do not possess dimensions but have fixed value. Example, all the numbers, pi, exponential constant, e. These are dimensionless constant. So in this chart you can see the dimensions of some of the important physical quantities. There are many more, but some of them have been listed here. You can see the symbols as well as the dimensions. Beginning with length, that has the dimension of L, area has the dimension of L square, volume L cube, velocity L t to the power minus 1, acceleration L t to the power minus 2, speed of sound L t to the power minus 1, and so on. You may also note that there is a quantity which does not have any dimension. Just now we were discussing about dimensionless constants. Angle. See, the symbol is theta, but its dimension is none because it is a dimensionless quantity. Now, what are the uses of dimensional equations? An equation obtained by equating a physical quantity with its dimensional formula is called the dimensional equation of the physical quantity. So the dimensional equations are the equations which represent the dimensions of a physical quantity in terms of the base quantities. Let me show you an example. For example, we may write down the dimensional equation of volume as m to the power 0, L to the power 3 and T to the power 0. You remember the SI unit of volume is cubic meter. Now meter has got the dimension of length. So cubic meter, obviously we have to write down L to the power 3. But in the unit of volume we do not have a term for mass or time. So the dimension for m, that is mass, is 0, power is 0, and that for time is 0. So we can write down the dimension of volume as, in square bracket we can enclose the symbol V, and we have to write down in square bracket m to the power 0, L to the power 3 and T to the power 0, and this is nothing but the dimensional equation for volume. Similarly, we can write down the dimensional equation for force as m L T to the power minus 2. Now if you are having any doubt as to how we have written down the expression or how we have written down the dimension for force, let me explain it. You hopefully remember the formula for force. It is mass into acceleration. Now just try to remember the units for mass and acceleration. What is the unit for mass? It is kg. And what is the unit for acceleration? Meter per second square. Now kg has got the dimension of mass. Obviously the SI unit for mass is kilogram. Meter is having the dimension of length, and by second square. Second is the unit for time, and we are having second square, so we can write down t square. So t square. So now combined we can write down m, L and t, since t is in the denominator, so the power will become minus 2. So that becomes the dimension for force, isn't it? So in this manner we can write down the dimensional equation for several physical quantities. Now very quickly, can you tell me the dimension of this term? This is density. If you remember the formula for density, it is mass divided by volume. So what is the unit for mass? It is kg. And what is the unit for volume? It is cubic meter. So dimensional equation for this will be written as m and L to the power minus 3, isn't it? So in this manner we can write down the dimensional equation. The dimensional equation can be obtained from the equation representing the relations between the physical quantities. The dimensional formula of a large number and wide variety of physical quantities derived from the equations representing the relationships among other physical quantities and expressed in terms of base quantities I have already shown in the previous page. Now for this, to have a detailed analysis, I will suggest you to refer to the textbook where you will find a list of several physical quantities along with the dimensional formula. And it is very important to remember them because it is a very common question asked in the examination. So coming back to the uses of dimensional equations, to check the correctness of the physical relation, to recapitulate a forgotten formula, to derive the relationship between different physical quantities, to convert one system of unit to another, to find the dimensions of constant in a given relation. Now these are some of the basic uses of dimensional equations. The recognition of concepts of dimensions which guide the description of physical behavior is of basic importance, as only those physical quantities can be added or subtracted which have the same dimensions. A thorough understanding of dimensional analysis helps us in deducing certain relations among different physical quantities and checking the derivation, accuracy, and dimensional consistency or homogeneity of various mathematical expressions. When magnitudes of two or more physical quantities are multiplied, their units should be treated in the same manner as ordinary algebraic symbols. We can cancel identical units in the numerator and denominator. The same is true for dimensions of a physical quantity. Similarly, physical quantities represented by symbols on both sides of a mathematical equation must have the same dimensions. This is law of dimensional analysis, or what is referred to as the principle of homogeneity. The equation is dimensionally correct if the dimensions on the left hand side of the equation are equal to the dimensions on the right hand side of the equation. If not, the equation is not dimensionally correct. The magnitudes of physical quantities may be added together or subtracted from one another only if they have the same dimensions. In other words, we can add or subtract similar physical quantities. Thus, velocity cannot be added to force, or an electric current cannot be subtracted from the thermodynamic temperature. This simple principle, called the principle of homogeneity of dimensions in an equation, is extremely useful in checking the correctness of an equation. If the dimensions of all the terms are not same, the equation is wrong. Hence, if we derive an expression for the length of an object, regardless of the symbols appearing in the original mathematical relation, when all the individual dimensions are simplified, the remaining dimension must be that of length. Similarly, if we derive the equation of speed, the dimensions on both the sides of equation when simplified must be of length by time, that is L t to the power minus 1. Now let us try and understand the application of dimensional analysis by taking some examples. For example, you are asked to check the correctness of the equation given by x equal to x0 plus v naught t plus half a t square. This is nothing but the second equation of motion, s equal to ut plus half a t square. The only thing is that we are considering the initial position. So the final position of the object is given by x and x0 be the initial position. So for distance traveled x by a particle or body in time t, which starts from position x0 with an initial velocity v0 at time t equal to 0 and has uniform acceleration a along the direction of motion. Now let us try to find out if the given expression is correct or not. First of all, let us consider the right hand side. So on right hand side we are having x. X stands for position of the object, and obviously it will be having the dimension of length. Now we have to take all the terms given on the right hand side. This was left hand side, sorry. So now let us consider the right hand side. So on right hand side the first term is x0, which is again having the position. It is the term showing the position, initial position of the particle, and having the dimension of length. Coming to the next term, it is v0 into t. Now what is v0? It is the initial velocity. So initial velocity lt to the power minus 1 meter per second. So meter l per second, t to the power minus 1 multiplied by time. So you can see that t to the power minus 1 and t, that makes the power of t to be 0, and ultimately again the dimension comes out to be that of L. The last term left out is half a t square. So now half is a number, so it is dimensionless. What about acceleration? Meter per second square, meter per second square, and then time square, it will give you t square. So again we are left with the dimension L. So you can see that all the terms on the left hand side and right hand side are having dimension of length. On left hand side we had dimension of L, and on the right hand side the first term was having a dimension of length, the second term was having a dimension of length, and the third term was also having a dimension of length. So ultimately the dimension on the right hand side is equal to length. So as each term on the right hand side of this equation has the same dimension, namely that of length, which is same as the dimension of left hand side of the equation, hence this equation is a dimensionally correct equation. It may be borne in mind that if an equation fails this consistency test, it is proved wrong. But if it passes, it is not proved right. Thus, a dimensionally correct equation need not be actually an exact equation, but a dimensionally wrong or inconsistent equation must be wrong. Now, at this point, you might be confused that what exactly does this statement mean. Whenever we are trying to compare the dimensions of the given terms on both sides of the equation, we are not actually taking into account the constant terms, because constant terms are dimensionless sometimes. Like for instance, in this equation, half at square. So half at square, the number half is dimensionless. So Instead of writing half, even if we write 280 square, still the dimensions on both the sides of the equation will be coming same. And dimensionally we will say that the equation is correct, but actually it will be wrong. So, a clear understanding of the constant terms is not coming through by this concept. That's why it is being said that even though we have proved that on both sides of the equation the terms are having similar dimensions, still there might be some doubt whether the given expression is truly correct or not. Coming to the second application, deducing relation among the physical quantities. For that, let us take an example. The velocity v of a fluid beyond which a streamline flow ceases and turbulence begins depends on the radius r of the tube, density rho, and viscosity eta of the fluid. Using dimensions, obtain an expression which relates v, r, rho, and eta. So now, as in the question it is mentioned that the velocity is directly proportional to radius, density, and coefficient of viscosity. So r rho n, v is proportional to r rho n. Let me zoom it for you. So whenever we are replacing the constant term, constant of proportionality with an equal to sign, we have to introduce a constant. So we can write down v equal to k times r raised to the power a, rho raised to the power b, and eta raised to the power c. In the question it is mentioned that there is a proportionality, but how velocity depends on these three terms, whether it is a direct dependence, inverse dependence, whether it is dependent on the square of the term or it is linearly dependent on that term, that is not mentioned. So we assume that let the powers be a, b, and c for these terms, and this be the expression. Now one by one we have to write down the dimensions of all the quantities given on both the sides of the equation. So velocity is distance by time, that is L by t. So L t to the power minus 1. This is the dimension on the left hand side of the equation. Coming to the right hand side, on the right hand side the first term is radius. So radius is having a dimension of length, so it becomes L. Density is mass by volume, so dimension becomes ml to the power minus 3. Now viscosity, it might be a new term for you. You can refer to the dimension of viscosity from the chart that is given in your textbook. Using that chart you will obtain that viscosity has got a dimension ml to the power minus 1, t to the power minus 1. So now that we are aware of all the dimensions of all the quantities given on both sides of the equation, so right now we will substitute this in equation number 1. As you can see, equation number 1 is written in red line. So substituting the dimensions in equation 1, we obtain L t to the power minus 1 equal to k times L to the power a ml minus 3 to the power b and ml to the power minus 1 t to the power minus 1 to the power c. Now we will compare the powers on both the sides. We will take similar terms and start comparing the powers. So first of all, if we compare the power of the term having time, on left hand side you are having t to the power minus 1, on left hand side you are having t to the power minus 1, and on the right hand side you are having t to the power minus 1 raised to the power c. Comparing these two, you will get c equal to 1, and then one by one we can start substituting. Like you will get a equal to, if you collect the term containing m, you will get b plus c equal to 0, because on the left hand side you don't have any term of mass. And if you compare the power of mass, you are getting b plus c equal to 0, and if you compare the term containing length, you are getting a minus c minus 3b. A minus 3B minus C equal to 1. So substituting all the values, you get A equal to minus 1, C equal to 1 and B equal to minus 1, and ultimately you may substitute these values in the equation 1, and in this manner you get the result V equal to K times eta by R into rho. But as I was telling you that through this method, even though we have been able to obtain an expression for the velocity, still we are not able to find out an exact value of the constant K, because it is dimensionless, and something which is dimensionless cannot be determined through this method. For that we have to apply some experimental method in order to get an exact value of K. But still we are able to figure out through the method of dimensions how this velocity is dependent on these three terms, that is coefficient of viscosity, radius and density. So we can find that it is directly dependent upon the coefficient of velocity and inversely dependent on radius and density. So in this manner we get some idea regarding the expression for velocity, even though not a complete one, but still we get some idea. In this manner we can check the correctness of the expression. This was something that I have already discussed with you. You may be getting this sort of questions where some options might be provided to you and we have to choose the correct options using the method of dimensions. Like for example, the period P of a swinging pendulum depends only on the length of the pendulum L and acceleration of the gravity G. Which of the following formula for P could be correct? Three different expressions are given and you have to use dimensional analysis. You have to apply the knowledge of dimensions in order to find out which one out of these three is correct. So in this manner we can solve. We can write down the dimensions one by one of all the terms given on the right hand side and left hand side one by one and see if the dimensions are similar on both the sides or not. So as you can see in the first and the second equations, the dimensions of the quantities given on both sides of the equations are not similar. So obviously the given expression is wrong. The similarity comes in the third case. See, the dimensions are similar. So obviously this must be the right answer. So in these type of questions, again with the use of the concept of dimensions, you are able to figure out an exact expression for the given physical quantity. But the condition is that you have to remember the dimensions of most of the important quantities by heart. So that's why I was telling you that the chart that is provided on the last page of your textbook or any other reference book that you might be using, you will get a full length chart of several physical quantities along with the symbols and the dimensions, and that you need to remember, because unless you remember the dimensions of all these physical quantities, you will not be in a position to solve these type of questions properly. So I would like to suggest you that you go through these topics very carefully. So there is one more example. If the viscous force F is defined by F equal to eta A delta V by delta L, where eta is the coefficient of viscosity, A is the cross-sectional area and delta V by delta L is the velocity gradient, find the dimensions and units of eta. So if you are not given the value of this particular quantity, you are asked to find out the unit as well. So using the concept of dimensions, not only we can find out the dimension of that quantity but also the unit. Like in this case, again simple method, simply write down the dimensions of the given quantities on both sides of the equations and start equating the powers. So very easily you would be able to get some idea regarding the exact expression for the given physical quantity, and once you are able to figure out the expression, straight away you can write down the unit. Like for instance, in this case you can see the expression for eta comes out ml to the power minus 1 t to the power minus 1. Now m stands for mass and mass SI unit is kilogram. L stands for length. Length has got SI unit meter, and T stands for time. So SI unit of time is second. So obviously straight away from the dimension you can write down the unit of eta as kg per meter per second. So not only with this method you are able to find out the dimension of the physical quantity, but also its standard unit. So this method is extremely useful to get an understanding regarding several things. Now the only condition, I would keep on repeating this, that you have to memorize the dimensions of most of the important quantities, because this is something that is not always provided in the examination paper, so that you can directly refer to that expression and substitute in your answer. So you need to memorize the dimensions of most of the important physical quantities, and then only you will be able to apply this knowledge in solving several questions. So over and over again I am saying this, that you please go through the dimensions of all the important physical quantities given in the end of your textbook, so that you are able to apply this understanding in solving questions based upon dimensions. Now your assignment for today will be to practice more questions based upon the applications of dimensions, that is dimensional analysis. Try to pick important problems and solve them by yourself. Thank you.